Hey, welcome back to the show, everyone. We are doing this again because there's Lower Decks season 2. You know, we had to watch these episodes, man. What else is going on, y'all? We just got done watching them. We can't live stream them and record at the same time because
of reasons.
And internet gods kill us. So you know how it
Yeah.
goes. But we can talk about it.
Lower Decks 2 has finally landed, so it's awesome to see this series thrive and still continually be good.
Yeah,
Indeed. Like recap, like all of us like really liked the first season. It's like it did a good job of like being funny, but also still being recognizably Star Trek at the same time.
Yeah, and it's still pretty good. What do you guys think?
Still pretty good.
No.
Yep, still funny, still I like, again, and I reiterate this every time we talk about Trek, not necessarily like as not necessarily as in depth as you guys are in the series, but through watching it, I feel like I've heard and seen a lot of references, and especially with this whole double Riker, which we'll probably get into later on, but I do like it pertains. I do like that it's its own entity, but yet it still pertains to the Star Trek universe, and has a lot of those Easter eggs for the fans.
Yeah.
It's a special kind of show that can marry like an extended reference to the original series episode with repeated nut shots.
So do you remember? Yeah, repeat. So what were some of the Easter eggs you noticed in the first one? If you noticed any at all, the first episode we saw. I can tell some right off the top if you want, but I'm gonna let you guys. Jason, see any?
Jeez, it's like I wish
Just
I could say
one
more.
that was memorable.
I mean, I got Gary Smith. That was kind of a gimme right there.
Oh yeah, so Gary Smith. Is it Gary Smith? Really? Okay, I didn't know what his name was. Gary, yeah, that dude.
The guy who got godlike powers, like in the original series, and that Kirk managed to stop him by crushing him with a boulder, which is like it's a solution that's proposed here as well by the ship's esteemed doctor.
Yeah. So Myron probably having watched that episode. That's a total throwback to the original series. And the funny thing about that episode is that it is the second pilot for the original Star Trek series. So when you watch it, it's like really bizarre and weird looking. But bizarre and weird is in the costumes weren't quite finalized. Everything looks good, but it was the second pilot. And it's basically, it's exactly what he's just said. So it's kind of a cool little nod. Anything else?
Not off the top of my head, but it's been a long time since I've experienced like any of like the regular Trek series.
You did call one out, and then when we were watching it, though, you're like, "Hey, there are 4 lights."
Oh, that's right. The the opening sequence, which sets up the idea that it's like the Mariner has been captured by the Cardassians, and it's like I can entertain this. I can also entertain the fact that this is how she gets her kicks in the morning. But yeah, it's like there's a nod to the like Picard's interrogation sequence by the Cardassians. It's like, I mean, you can see 4 lights in the background, but oddly, it's like, interestingly enough, like they never actually make that joke in the series. Like it's just he's there for like smart asses like me to go, hey guys, there's 4 lights right there.
But in case you missed it, there is a hologram of Boimler who's tied up in the side, and he says, "What does he say?" He's just like, all they keep showing me are 4 lights."
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, I got it. I got you. But then the second thing was when she steals the ship. And on the ship itself, it's literally like Khan, like the ship, the Reliant from the Wrath of Khan.
Huh.
Including down to the design of the consoles and chairs. And I mentioned that when we were watching the episode. But this one I had a little bit of help with. Not that I needed it, but I did see someone post that online, and they were like, yeah, they seem to have it looks like they copied all the panels perfectly, like everything that was displayed on the panels. It was really bizarre. So, well, kind of a fun thing. Just another Easter egg.
Now with Commander Ransom kind of like becoming this big, big giant godlike head and hands. Was that a throwback to the original Star Trek
Oh
episode
man,
that you're talking about, or did they
Myron.
exaggerate?
So Jason, you know the answer to that question.
Nope.
He's right. He's spot on. Yeah, he caught one that I was like, whoops, I totally forgot about. So there is this episode called in the original series called "Who Mourns for Adonis." It's
Mhm.
where the god of Apollo, who is a god, he like resides on this planet, and he captures the Enterprise by using a big hand, and then he holds on to the saucer section. So yeah, and then he appears as a big head in front of them. So yeah, that was
Okay.
pretty much right on. So no, that
that-
was good. I totally forgot about it too. So
Because that reminded me more of like Andros on Star Fox than it did like, than it did.
oh
in Star
yeah.
Trek.
And that's a good one too. I like that one.
Big
So,
giant head in space. Like we're always going to go back to Andros on that one.
Mhm.
yeah, that's so. An interesting thing about that is that in that episode they had there was a series, a fan series that came out later on called I think New Voyages. I forget what the name of it was, but anyway, they brought that actor back to like revisit him again. So that it's called Pilgrim of Eternity. Star Trek Continues. Yeah. So with a couple of voice actors you might have remembered.
Mm-hmm.
The one we saw at that panel.
Yeah, be Todd Habercorn.
Yeah, Todd Habercorn, and then the other guy who plays Kirk in that series. So, in that what is it? Whatever series. But yeah, essentially his big green hand comes out. Oh, I found an original picture here, guys. So just share screen and looky here. This is funny. So here's that's essentially what that is the 60s effect.
Oh,
When they
wow.
when they redid the effects for the original series, which is what they did, by the way, they remastered all of them and then they created a new version of it. But this is him sitting on his throne and all that other stuff. It's kind of like it's your usual Trek, kind of cheese stuff. But anyway, yeah, I don't even know if they have a picture of the other one, but yeah, they wind up killing the god, and yeah, God's dead. That was basically that episode. So this is him standing in front of it, but like supposedly all of the Greek gods were essentially aliens, and then they left, and he was the last of the Greek gods who are aliens who influenced humans, and as they, I think Kirk in that episode is like, we've gone beyond herding sheep and and playing harps, so whatever. So we outgrew your gods. So anyway, funny stuff. So yeah, that was a good one. I liked it. I'm just trying to think of what else was like notable in there. Those are some of the things I picked up. The Cardassian stuff. I mean, the beginning was kind of cool, but I guess in terms of like character, like there is actually some interesting stuff in here because it's already a known fact that Mariner's mom is like the captain of the ship and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and literally, like, this is the problem that what's his name? What's the commander's name again?
Ransom.
Ransom has a problem with. Like, he's
Yeah.
like, hey, he wants to remake this planet, and all that, and then don't forget about the B plot. The B plot here is that is Tendi is like, hey, there's something wrong with what's his name? Rutherford. She's like, no, there's something clearly wrong with him. I've got to fix him. So, like going out. Just so she winds up Jason, it's like I'm just completely convinced. There is something about Tendi that you gotta love. It's just like this. You think she's on this one track and she's on a different track altogether, So like you think, oh, she just really cares about him, like she's crushing on him. Nope, she just wants to be his friend.
It's more,
but she also wants to fix him too.
Yeah, you think there's this romantic kind of like vibe between those two characters, and who knows, maybe further down the line there may be, but it's more of their love of science. Like, Rutherford Engineering, her more like on the genetic side of things, and I really like how they kind of like play up their interests, like they're total nerds for their craft and what they do. Like I love it.
And I like the fact that it's resolved here. It's like in a way that it's like, hey, it's like there wasn't like any acrimony or like recriminations about like what Tendi was trying to do. It's like it played out in a way that, hey, it's like I wasn't expecting things to go out there, but it's actually kind of like true Rutherford's character. It's like, because like you said, they both got like this deep love of science, and the resolution to like these issues kind of like played out in that way. Even though she was trying to stab him with science science venom, it's like, and was fearing that his like brain was going to liquefy and come out his nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's it like? I'm not joking. Like when she gave him the hug at the end, I could have sworn that she was just going to take another one and just stab him in the back. But evidently that didn't happen. So, they're just like, they just resolved to be friends. It's like, no, I'll still be your friend. That's Rutherford.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the episode, we get a little peek at Boimler because Boimler ain't on the ship.
Yeah, it's like he's having the time of his life on the Titan, which time of life being like, oh my god, this is not what I wanted at all.
And even though it wasn't that long ago that we watched and talked about season 1 and the finale, like I totally forgot that at the very end they were both separated because Boimler followed his path and what he wanted to do, and the rest of the lower deck crew stayed where they were. So being introduced to Boimler and the adventures he was going through, on the Titan, I was kind of wondering, like, how are they going to work this out with him being involved with the main cast again? Like, is he going to go back to the Cerritos at some point, or is he going to stay on the Titan, but yet they cross paths and, and kind of continue adventures, from there? I found it interesting, like how they were going to proceed with that, and eventually we kind of get that. We get that answer.
Yeah, it's like these first 2 episodes are basically kind of like soft resetting Lower Decks back to like how things were in the majority of the episodes from season 1, because like season 1 ended like with a pretty what felt like hey, if they're going to end the series right here, like they're actually going to like offer some substantial change right here, but since now we're getting like a season 2, it's like, well, now we got to get everything back to the way it was before. And the business with Mariner and her mom, I mean, that's kind of like that's fine. It kind of plays out about as you'd expect. The business with Boimler, however, is more interesting in the second episode, but that's also kind of like the B plot for the second episode as well. The A plot also harkens back to like some Trek lore, specifically collectors. Goddamn collectors ruin everything.
Yeah. So in the Next Generation, there's this episode. So the second one is about they found that this collector ship, this guy died, right? And this other collector's like, yeah, we're gonna, your job is to get this catalog, this stuff, and get it off of the ship. Oh, okay. Whatever, I forget some of the like important parts of the plot. But regardless, it's got some the ties to the Next Generation are there is actually this one episode of Next Generation where there is this collector who fakes Data's death because they wants to collect him as an artifact and or so, like a unique thing, and so that's that's kind of where this is, and then it sets off a booby trap, which they wind up thinking there. Oh yeah, and then they have a Temerian on there, which is Temerian. They talk weird and funny.
They talk in metaphors.
There's this whole episode in the Next Generation where Picard is transported to a planet with a Temerian captain, and he doesn't understand him. They have to fight this evil, invisible monster thing, which is kind of funny because the Red Letter Media guys, they actually got the mask for that thing. Anyway,
wow.
Yeah,
they completely disrespected it.
Yeah, they did. Totally did, because it was just like some foam prop thing, that's a lot more. But anyway, that is the A plot. The B plot is that which they spent a hell of a lot more time on, was Boimler on the Titan, and
Mhm.
they're fighting the Packlids. This is
Well, they're going undercover with the pack. Oh, that's right. They're fighting it first, but then they go
fighting
undercover.
at first. Yep, and then they come up with the plan to send them, as miners undercover and all this. So, yeah, that's the fun stuff. So, first of all, Easter eggs in this thing. I mean, there are plenty of them, but
Oh man, who could forget like Kashar's sex helmet? Oh, Kalis' sex helmet. Yeah.
Kalis, the Klingon, the sex helmet. Now that I've never seen that before. So Kalis itself is kind of a reference, but I thought that was interesting as a reference. But what other ones?
I want to know, like, what is that giant that giant skeleton looked like? It was like Spock's uniform. Is that any kind of reference that?
Do you think it could have been Spock? Do you think it could have been
did
Spock
pull one
himself?
So you did pull one out. That is a reference. It's a reference to the animated series, the original animated series. So
Are
Figures.
you talking about?
Are you talking about? Go on, Myron. Yeah.
I was going to say, are you talking about the animated series from the He-Man studio, Film Nation?
Yeah, right.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I don't know a lot about this one, because I don't really watch that one. But having known some of the key things about it, there is an episode where they make basically a gigantic Spock clone, and that's what that skeleton is supposed to represent. That same one, there you may have noticed that there was a I think later on, near that same room, there was this creature. It's kind of hard to describe this one. Anyway, there's a skeleton that kind of looks like it could be Abe Lincoln. Well, that's actually another episode from the original series. So,
did they encounter like Abe Lincoln in space one time?
Yeah, this is the one, but it was basically a clone from where these lava rock creatures, which was also in there. They wanted to test the concept of good and evil, so they created clone of essentially of Lincoln, and made a clone of Surak, like the Vulcan who helped create logic for the Vulcans and stuff. And of course, those two died and just left Kirk and Spock because can't have those guys winning. So yeah, that's another episode. And then they had to fight Kalis actually, and then a couple other people. Like evil versus good. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, there is a reference there as well. So I did see it when they were pushing all those bones against there. They pushed the Lincoln's skull right up against it. It still had a beard attached. It was just weird.
Yeah, everyone knows that Lincoln's beard is fossilized.
Yeah. So, So let's see here. But now the B plot here was essentially that. So this minor undercover team of Starfleet operatives, including Boimler, from the Titan, were they trying to free the miners? I forget what they were trying to do.
They're trying to place I think they're freeing the miners was a secondary concern, but their primary goal was to place a tracking device on the on the stuff that the Packlids were stealing, so they could trace it back to the real mastermind, because Riker was thinking that this is above the Packlids' pay grade. Someone has to be running them, which seems to me like it could be like a recurring plot thread for the season, but also it could be a plot thread for the season is what happens to Boimler in this episode.
Yeah, so basically he gets split and cloned through a transporter accident. Mm-hmm. And there is an episode in The Next Generation where this happens to Riker. That's why he said, "This looks familiar." That's what he literally says. So, yeah. So then, one of the Boimlers, I'm assuming it's the original one, goes back to the. I mean, you're supposed to think that, right? That the one that was not the clone, is the one that went back to the Cerritos.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that's kind of cool, by the way. got the band back together. Oh, and then there is this tension between Mariner and what's his name, like
Jet.
yeah, like when they're in the sonic showers in the beginning of the episode, and they're like they're just cranking it up until they like get nosebleeds, like yeah, and they just like you know, so it's cool. And now, you know, I guess when Boiler comes back, I guess he's buying shots for he's still got to repay it, but still she's happy that he's back.
But do they really use cash like on the ship? Maybe he's just reduced to gopher status rather than actually having to pay for everything.
You know, money is funny. Like there's like
oh, go ahead.
Huh?
No, I was
No,
gonna say,
run it.
I was gonna say I would assume it would come out of their, like, you know, if they put it on a tab, like it comes out of their paychecks or whatever.
You'd think so. And there's so many things where Star Trek has said they don't use cash anymore, and then they do. So I've always thought like, nah, like this is just like the I know what the ideal is, but the practical is they can't seem to get away from it. So even Riker in certain episodes, like he's like, I got a stash of gold pressed latinum and all this other stuff, and like, yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna say they have cash, but like the Federation and Earth may not operate on cash, but the rest of the universe does. Damn it.
This is true. But I'm going to assume that the bar on the Cerritos is like it's free for all so long as you don't make a nuisance of yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm guessing too. So it's like, but you know, maybe there are drinking credits. Who the hell knows? I'm not. I don't live in this world. I just watch it. So, yeah. So regardless, it's on him anyway. So there. Lots of fun. I don't remember anything else particularly in this episode besides the Tamarian.
I like the fact that the officers from the Titan that Boimler went with, like, for the mission, like they're presented as being like ultra gung ho and just kind of like disdainful of the whole, like, you know, of like the whole, like, this is on the Enterprise, which, you know, Boimler, it's like, you know, that's kind of his ideal right there. But then at the end, like they kind of revealed, like, hey, you know what's I got into Starfleet because I like beaming. You know, yeah. It's like they're you kind of find that they, you know, they're no different from him, which, you know, it's like, it's kind of nice. I always like how, like I said, I like how, like, these resolutions, like always, like, you know, tend, like, kind of go in a, like, nice positive direction right there. And I love the bit when the Apacalids are trying to break in and they say, hit the door with the saw, and that's exactly what they did.
Literally.
Yeah, and it worked too.
Yeah, there might be more on that, actually. The whole Pakled, like, you know, what's going on, who's, you know, what's going on with them, and they're stealing a technology and stuff like that. I don't know. Or,
yeah,
you know.
But I'm curious to see what they're going to do with two Boimlers now, because it's clear that one of them is, you know, the Boimler we've always known, but the other one, well, he's kind of like more of like a carefree radical who could like Romulan ale, you know.
That's
so
right.
Like the business of the Pakleds might come back later in the series. I am certain that we have not seen the last of Transporter Clone Boimler. The question is whether or not it's like, is it going to be like evil Transporter Clone Boimler? It's like, or is he just going to be like cool Boimler? It's like, who is just like, you know, like the Boimler we've all known, just like, you know, like to his playing his best self, for lack of a better term.
The full of confidence, don't need to jot down every word that Riker says, you know, kind of person, right? Like,
exactly. I mean, okay, how did
the other ego that he has, right?
Yeah, actually, I was going to say, like, how did Thomas Riker turn out? I can't remember, like, what happened to him.
Oh, well, turns out that he showed up on Deep Space Nine, and he stole a Defiant because he was pretending to be, well, his brother, Will Riker, and none of the computers could catch, like, that his fingerprints were the same and all that other stuff. So he pretty much was able to get into things and was able to get access, stole the Defiant because he was working with the Maquis. So the idea here is that, and then they turned him over to Cardassians as part of a bargain. and we never heard from him after that. So Thomas Riker, and then there was the whole So we don't know what happened to him.
Turned over to the Cardassians and never heard from again. Wow,
right.
that's kind of pretty dark for Star Trek, I gotta admit.
Yes. Well, it is Deep Space Nine. So, which is, not your conventional Star Trek stories here,
Yeah.
So, anyway.
So what you think Section 32 went on a secret mission to bust him out, and now he's been working for them all this time?
You never know. But most of Cardassia was leveled by the Dominion at the end of the war. So, but that doesn't mean he couldn't come back. But I don't think that we're going to see what's his name, Jonathan Frakes, reprise the role. He's not doing that. Although he did do his voice in these episodes, But that's a far cry from actually being that. But we might forget it. I don't even want to speculate on it. We care more about Boimler, not Riker. So
right, and it's good to have Boimler back.
It is, and I think Mariner and the rest of them are pleased. So that's kind of fun.
Yes.
So good stuff. I always wondered if Mariner actually kind of likes him, but I don't know how that would work out. You know what I mean?
I don't know. It's like it's kind of. I like the idea that Boimler had a girlfriend in the first season, but that kind of turned out to be it was a parasite that was running him. So I like the idea that these people could don't have to fall in love with each other, because that's kind of like how we expect these things to go on these shows. So it'd be interesting to see them bring on, I don't know, maybe some recurring characters as their love interests. But I don't know.
I get the impression that she cares about him like a friend at the very least, and that's kind of fun.
Yeah,
I like that. That they have a dynamic kind of a relationship. I can't say it's romantic. I think it's a good friendship at the very least. And
indeed.
she felt definitely betrayed by him leaving.
Mm-hmm. I can believe that. I can believe that in a friendship kind of way. But I like the idea that the series does not seem to be committed to the idea that these people will have to fall in love with each other. So, but so I hope they keep with that going into the rest of season 2.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be anything. I don't think I want it to be anything, honestly. But I like it. It's a good friendship, at the very least. So, all right, final thoughts. Still going, right? This is a good thing. I think I think that they're doing well. I have not seen any of the other episodes outside of these. I had watched these previously before tonight, but I think they're up to episode
6
now. Yeah. Okay. So, it should be fun to see where they take it. But again, I think it's great. I think this is a fun show still. So, thoughts? Anybody? Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, I have watched up to episode 4.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then no spoilers, dude.
Okay. So I will say I do like where things are going, even if there's some idiot plotting stuff that that I could do without. But we get your opinions on that when we get to it.
Cool. Any final thoughts on this, Myron?
No, just still entertaining, and still a great animated series that I thoroughly enjoy, and I hope we get more to come beyond season 2. As far as an outsider, so to speak, this is a Star Trek property that I honestly thoroughly enjoy, and from what I understand, this is probably one of the better Star Trek properties that have come about in this new iteration of television shows that we're being presented with. So yeah, I hope they keep it up.
I think in an era where a lot of shows, granted this is a cartoon, but in an era where a lot of shows take themselves way too seriously, and even the Star Trek ones that are out, like Discovery and Picard, I think this one just offers so much nice levity and just doesn't take itself too seriously. I really don't think so. I don't think that there's a lot. I think that there's some fun questions, but I think that they've structured it well. That's my opinion. So.
Yeah,
It still feels like Trek, even though it's like explicitly structured as a comedy.
Yeah.
right. And I get the vibe that, like you said, John, like it's not taking itself too seriously, but it's presenting us with stories that are pertinent to the established Star Trek universe. Like this is canon, and so this is just a different way of presenting that material and giving us like an expansion of these storylines, kind of giving us like a more humanistic, like kind of lighthearted view of what's going on in this world.
hmm Yeah, absolutely. And lots of little fun Easter eggs, and you know there were some laughs. I mean these episodes I caught myself laughing several times. So so that's cool.
So
If you're
let's say
gonna- that. Hmm?
so let's say, for instance, like, you know, they do a live action television series that is relevant. I don't think they would, you know, you never know, but it's relevant within this timeline, and they do like a live action Boimler or a live action you know, Tendi. Like who do you guys think that they would get to cast for these type of roles?
Why not just have the voice cast?
Yeah,
Good.
I think that that would probably work. Did you have any ideas on that?
I mean, not necessarily myself. I mean, the Jack Quaid, who actually plays the voice of Boimler, and he's also in the television series The Boys on Amazon. Like, I mean, he looks that part. Like, just dye his hair purple. I mean, he kind of has those mannerisms in his acting to where like that would be like the perfect fit. He would be the perfect fit for like a live action version of Boimler. As far as like the other cast members go, like I'm still trying to kind of, you know, picture that. I mean, that's the easy answer, and I do feel like you guys are right. Like the voice actors themselves, like, you know, you could deck them out to actually be live action versions of those characters. But if you're trying to segue them into like segue them into like uh, a live action realistic tone, how would you go about that? And I might get stabbed, you know, for saying this, you know, for Trek fans, but Star Wars, for instance, like, you know, damn,
I mean, not. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I don't care. To me, Star Wars is Star Wars, and Star Trek is Star Trek. So
I get
continue
it. I mean,
though.
I mean, you got your Trekkies and your Star Warsies, and you got your Xbox and PlayStation fans. It's nerd beef, but damn, what's her name? Ahsoka. You know, Ahsoka was a character who started off in an animated animated realm with, you know, Clone Wars and, you know, Rebels and other, and, you know, those series, but you know, they finally brought that character into a live action, you know, frame with Rosario Dawson playing you know, playing that character. And so it's kind of interesting to kind of see that a character that started off in, you know, an animated spinoff being brought into reality, being brought into a realistic light. So who's to say, like, later on, you know, depending on how successful this show is, I mean, it could be, you know, self-contained, because you're right. Like, I mean, it brings a comedic point of view into the Star Trek universe and a different type of tone. But, you know, these characters are very memorable to where, like, you know, could they, you know, eventually appear in a live action setting, and, you know, who would be like the best actors to portray that?
Well, I was wondering, it's like we're meant to assume this takes place in like the present day, like at Starfleet, and isn't that like, doesn't that mean like make this contemporaneous with Picard? I mean, I could be wrong, but like I don't know exactly when this is set, when the two shows are set relative to each other, but I don't know. Isn't that the idea?
Well, me personally, I'm not sure. I have yet to see Picard, and I have yet to see what's the other one?
Discovery, but
Discovery. And so I'm unsure with the timeline, but based off of what you just said, you know, I would imagine that, yeah, it's taking place in more present day, where, like, you know, Picard is, you know, long gone and retired, like what's going on with the current television show, and, you know, Jonathan Riker is a top tier captain right now within Starfleet. So I would imagine it would take place in like, modern day time to where like, let's say in this new season of Picard, like Jack Quaid, they have a little cameo of him in the background with purple hair, playing Boimler. Who
I
knows?
found a. By the way, I found a picture of this just to show you.
Giant Spock.
Yeah, that's Giant Spock. It's the episode was called The Infinite Vulcan, but I'm gonna tell you right now, that's all I know about it.
And I don't mean I don't mean to be disrespectful because a lot of us and probably a lot of our listeners in this age range grew up with what was the name of the guy of Film Nation? Was it Lou Schneider?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. Like we grew up with that. I mean, I loved He-Man growing up and all that stuff. But when you go back and watch this type of animation, it's like, oh my goodness, dude! Like this shit didn't hold up whatsoever. But back in the day, it was pretty clean animation.
Yeah. I think I've probably been more forgiving of this when I watched this when I was like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But,
so
exactly.
But now it's like it's something like that. I would certainly be willing to give this a watch, but the trick would be to convince Steve whether or not he wanted to watch this with me, because I don't know, man. It's like,
yeah. And so just to show you one more thing, this was the screenshot, right, of that bridge scene, right? So you've got these panels here, and this is supposed to be like a Reliant class ship, basically. But this bridge is essentially just where is it here? So if you look here, like this is the crew of the Defiant, and they pretty much got the panels just right. Yeah, Reliant. Sorry, but they did get you can see in this picture here. By the way, you know who this guy is? Wow. This is the captain.
It's Paul Winfield.
That's right. It's Paul Winfield.
Oh, and he was the alien that Picard encountered.
Yes, that's correct. Not only that, he was a captain of this. He was that.
And he died badly in that movie, man.
Yeah, he did. Oh, in this movie, in the Wrath of
Khan. He died in Next Gen as well. Jeez.
Yeah, he did. You know what else he was in?
He's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he was in the first Terminator too.
That's right. He was one of the cops in the station, or was he like the police chief?
I think he might have been the chief. I think actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember watching it. I was like, oh yeah, he's in that movie too. How about that?
He was also in Family Matters.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, that actor has passed away. He passed away several years ago. So, but if you look at the bridge layout here, that's essentially what that the Reliant bridge looks like here. And then they basically, they got it. They got it. I mean, they got down the colors and the way the panels look. And somebody had brought this up, and I was like, "What the heck are you talking about?" So I was like, "Wow, that's pretty cool." So, yeah. So let's see here. Basically, these things here. They noticed somebody was a fan because they designed these, these panels perfectly. So kind of crazy, really, to think about it.
And the whole time we were watching this, I was looking out for those, red, rods, connected to those ends.
The most important, sci-fi advice.
That's right. We did watch that. It's like, I swear to you, I know I've seen them in Star Wars. I know it's in Star Wars, like the original trilogy. When I say original trilogy, that means 4, 5, and 6 somewhere. I just don't know where I've seen them. On Hoth?
Yeah,
sure.
That's gonna be like a homework assignment. Like, go back and watch those and kind of keep an eye. It's like the Where's Waldo of sci-fi props.
Yeah, it's been used everywhere. And I was trying to when we watched that video, that I think his name's Major Grin, the one I showed you. He pulled it out of all. They cut across everything. In V, the original miniseries of V, they used it. I didn't even know that, and he found it there. It was obviously in several other things, and it's how does this prop go from one thing to the other thing? They sell it. I have no idea, but it's the same prop. Now, the thing we did see is an episode that we haven't watched here yet, which is, of Lower Decks. And evidently, they thought it was funny if they would draw it in there. So I can't wait to see that episode because I just want to call it out. That's all. That's pretty crazy. It's like, it's so popular. Let's draw it. But yeah. Yeah, and it might be that the thing that I showed you on YouTube, like they couldn't put the Star Wars in there because copyright things. I don't know. So,
Yeah,
Star
Mickey
Wars.
Mouse will get pissed, dude.
Yeah, don't mess around with the mouse. So, yeah. All right, final thoughts on this? Yeah,
Looking forward to more, whether it's with you guys or on my own.
same here.
Indeed.
All right. We'll catch you next time. See you later.
Good night, kiddies.
Later.